Gentlemen, we have given in our former lecture the theory of the first part of a game of chess, and have to a certain extent attempted to prove and to illustrate it. It now remains to put it to practical test. For this purpose we shall discuss today a popular form of opening called the Ruy Lopez, from the name of the Spanish bishop who invented it. It consists of the following three moves: pawn king 4, pawn queen king 4, knight king bishop 3, knight queen bishop 3, bishop queen knight 5. Of course you will at once perceive that the threat which white's last move seems to imply, via bishop takes knight, followed by knight takes pawn, is only an apparent one, as black will regain his pawn easily. We are therefore at liberty to make any developing move we please. According to the principles of our last lecture, either black's third move, pawn queen 3, or knight king bishop 3 should be done. Both of these moves very frequently are made, and on the whole with satisfactory results. Personally, I favor the immediate development of the knight, as pawn queen 3 deprives the king bishop of possibility of occupying the file from queen bishop 4. Black's third move, knight king bishop 3. White's next move may be knight queen bishop 3 or pawn queen 3, which would give him a solid and on the whole strong game. But these variations would not present any special difficulty to black, who could continue, for instance, with pawn queen 3 and afterwards adopt exactly the tactics recommended in our first lecture. White has, however, other continuations at his disposal which give him a harassing attack which black must exercise great judgment to meet. White castles. What is black to do next? According to our principles, he may either play bishop king 2 or bishop bishop 4, and actually either of these moves may be made without any real danger. But this is not the question at issue. The black king knight attacks the white king pawn, which white is left unguarded. Is black to accept the offer? I consider this matter at some length, because it frequently presents itself, for instance in all gambits. My answer is this: when you are conscious not to have violated the rules laid down, you should accept the sacrifice of an important pawn, such as the king pawn, queen pawn, or one of the bishop's pawns, as black is doing now. If you do not, as a rule, the pawn which you have rejected will become very troublesome to you. Do not accept the sacrifice, however, with the idea of maintaining your material advantage at the expense of development. Such a policy never pays in the end. By far the better plan is to give the pawn up after your opponent has made some exertions to gain it. By the same process, through which your opponent has achieved greater scope for his pieces, you will then always be able to recoup yourself, and as a rule be a gainer in the bargain. I am speaking rather authoritatively in this matter, as I cannot prove my assertions for the moment. However, I do not ask you to believe me blindly. In the course of this lecture, and in those that are to follow enough, I trust will be found to warrant what I have said. This principle is one amendment which I wish to add to the 4 rules given in the last lecture. Black accepts the gambit. Knight takes pawn. This move exposes black to some danger, and I do not think it would be right of me to show you only how black gets out of it with flying colors. We shall come to a fuller understanding of the possibilities of the position when we, in some variation, let black pay the penalty for his daring. Rook king square. Not the best move, but the one that most naturally suggests itself. Knight queen 3. To gain time by the attack on the white bishop. Knight queen bishop 3. Knight takes bishop. Knight takes pawn. Cunning play. If black now takes one of the knights, he loses. For example, king knight takes knight. Knight takes knight check. Bishop king 2. Knight takes bishop. Knight takes queen. Knight to knight 6 check. Queen to king 2. Knight takes queen and remains a piece ahead.